This video is sponsored by Normandy 1998, Ash, Team Valor, and Truman. Grinning heartily, both Ash and May immediately accept Flannery's challenge, though to the side, Brock, as a gym leader himself, questions why the redhead is doing this, since it's highly unusual for a gym leader to solicit battles from challengers, rather than the other way around. Looking all subdued at this question, Flannery explains that she recently took over the gym from her grandpa, and before he goes off on his trip to write poetry, she wants to have at least one truly great battle to show him the gym will be in good hands while he's away. At once, Brock nods, replying that he inherited his gym from his dad too, a fact that causes May to gawk as she had no idea she had so much in common with her companion. All the same, the bandana-clad girl declares that she will be the one to give Flannery her great battle, stating that contrary to their usual arrangement, in which Ash normally battles first in order to give her the advantage of forewarning regarding what Pokemon the gym leader uses, she would like to go first this time, as this battle feels personal to her, and more than that, she wants to see if she's worthy of earning a badge without her mentor lighting the way. Grinning that they love that spirit, both Ash and Flannery approve of this plan, with the group heading back to the gym where they meet Mr. Moore and get into position for the match. As the gym leader, Flannery brings out her Pokemon first, that being a Torkoal like Ash's, and figuring that this must mean it's a Fire-type gym, she naturally chooses Marill, trusting in type advantage to carry the day. Unfortunately, even though she is new, Flannery still has been trained by a true master of the Fire-type, who has long since devised a strategy to counter their weakness to water. In Torkoal's case, this is through its steadfast defense, as when May calls for an Aquatail Morningstar, Flannery has her Tortoise use Iron Defense, with it retreating inside its shell and allowing the watery mace to bounce harmlessly off the plating. Now it is Flannery's turn to strike back, and putting what her grandpa taught her to good use, she starts off strong with a Sludge Bomb, not only dealing super effective damage, but also poisoning the Aquamouse, which means its time is short. Recognizing this, May tells her friend to use Bubble Beam this time, since it'll give them some distance, with this proving more effective, as while Torkoal does once more retreat into its shell with another Iron Defense, the small stream of bubbles are able to follow it through the head hole before detonating for super effective damage, compounded by the fact Torkoal was not expecting it. Grinning that this is just the battle she was hoping for, Flannery tells Torkoal to use Sludge Bomb again, while May has the smart idea to have Marill leap up and bat it back with Aquatail to turn their opponent's strength against them and maybe poison Torkoal as well. However, while a good plan, it is not so easy to execute, as right when Marill goes to swing its tail, the effects of poison flare up, causing it to wince and therefore throw off its timing, allowing the glob of gunk to strike true and leave it on its last legs. Seeing that an all-or-nothing gambit will be required, May next tries for a Bubble Beam, seeing a torrent of bubbles shoot at Torkoal. While matching her, Flannery has the cold Pokemon fire off a final Sludge Bomb. At once, both moves race across the field before colliding in midair, with the resultant explosion being enough to kick up a cloud of dust, though when it fades, Marill is on its back unconscious, while Torkoal remains standing thanks to its enhanced defense. Though this is not to say it is unscathed, as having taken a lot of the residual water damage from the clash, it is fairly shaky on its feet, meaning that when May calls Zangoose in, the timid normal type feels confident enough to close in and deliver a powerful Crush Claw that neutralizes some of the defensive advantage before skittering back to its trainer's side. Refusing to let the Mongoose out of her sight, Flannery tells Torkoal to next use Overheat, with Brock warning May that such a move is majorly strong, so if Zangoose doesn't get out of there now, it's toast. Though thankfully, if Zangoose is good at one thing, it's running away, and so taking off at top speed, it zigzags between the blast of fire energy, as well as the one that follows before May urges it to be brave and use Crush Claw again. While Zangoose is rather loath to get close to the thing spitting fireballs at it, it trusts May and remembers their promise, with this giving it the courage to rush headlong at its foe and deliver a Crush Claw uppercut to Torkoal's chin. Thanks to the defense drop this move provides, this is at last enough to down the fiery tortoise, with May cheering that her new friend did it, causing Zangoose to puff out its chest in a showing of confidence, only to immediately flinch when the sound of Torkoal hitting the ground startles it. Next up for Flannery is her trusty Numel, another defensive fighter, but one who is slightly faster than Torkoal. However, just because it is faster than a literal turtle does not mean it holds a candle to Zangoose's speed, with the normal type quickly finding itself adept at hit-and-run tactics, particularly the run part, as it darts in and strikes the yellow camel before fleeing from any reprisal that might come its way. Like with Torkoal, Flannery does not leap headlong into attacking, instead performing some setup first, as she has Numel use Sunny Day to boost the power of its fire moves, though when it starts shooting embers, they are almost as strong as flamethrowers, having far greater range and the ability to be launched in a spread pattern which Zangoose cannot avoid. This sees the cat ferret Pokemon take a fair amount of damage, which in turn causes it to freak out and disregard May's commands, as it is reminded of the beating it received when it was exiled from its pack. Ironically, this results in it being easier to hit, as its panicked and erratic movements are all instinct, no thought, allowing Flannery to preempt them, and even start boxing poor Zangoose in, as it takes ember after ember. Having dealt with unruly Pokemon before, Ash calls out to May, telling her that she needs to remind Zangoose of their friendship, since that's the only way to get through to it and turn this around. Advice May has no trouble accepting, as this was what she was going to do anyway, as she takes a deep breath and calmly tells Zangoose that everything's alright, and that she's here. In the midst of the firefight, such calm stands out, with the normal type recognizing the voice of its partner through the haze of fear, and using the sound to filter out everything else. Seeing this, May keeps giving Zangoose encouragement and reassurance, with this allowing it to get back on its feet, both physically and metaphorically, and in its trainer's command, rush in for another crush claw hit and run. However, it seems Flannery has no desire to let Zangoose reclaim its advantage, so orders Nummel to unveil its own overheat, resulting in a close-range clash as the normal type strikes its foe, just as the orb of flame is launched from its mouth. Like the first match, this one ends in a cloud, though this time of smoke rather than dust. But this is not the only difference, as when it clears, both combatants are unable to battle, meaning this clash will be decided by a one-on-one. For her pick, Flannery chooses Mag, her Slugma, which due to being earlier in the timeline is not yet evolved, while May uses Combuskin. Unfortunately, this is not an eventful match, as with all its extra training in the Sunny Day boosting its strength as well, it does not take long for Combuskin to get the win, meaning that after many twists and turns, May is awarded her heat badge, while Flannery thanks her profusely, as this was just the battle she needed to prove that she's ready, while in turn, May gives the other girl a smile, and states that she really is a great gym leader, and that she'll be rooting for her all the way. Following a quick break so that Flannery can confer with her grandpa and heal her team, it's time for Ash's gym battle, though like May's last match, this is a fairly quick battle, as thanks to the power his Hoenn team has gained so far thanks to training alongside May, Torkoal, Swallow and Corfish are able to net him a win as well. Returning to the Pokemon Center, the question of where to go next arises, and while Ash feels ready to challenge Norman, May doesn't, and is pretty insistent on saving him for last, since if she's going to face her dad, she wants to be at the absolute top of her game. Recognizing the respect she has for her dad, and also figuring she knows his strength better than anyone, Ash acquiesces to the plan with Max's Pokénav pointing them to Fortree City as the next town with the gym. Due to not needing to make stops for contests, as well as not needing to detour all the way to Petalburg, the gang once again make great time, skipping more or less all of the canon events that would occur during this trip, as they are way ahead of schedule. That is aside from one, a 50-year-long feud between a Whiscash named Nero and a man named Sullivan, so while stopping to camp and polish their badge collections, both Ash and May attract the attention of Nero, as now he has twice the shiny objects to steal, forcing the two trainers to band together alongside Sullivan to get them back. Due to the Whiskers Pokemon being a water type, this task primarily falls to Corfish and Marill, and while in canon Corfish was no match for Nero's Water Pulse, here is able to tank the attack and even retaliate with a supercharged Crab Hammer that stuns the Water Ground type, long enough for Marill to use its signature Aquatail Morningstar to wallop Nero into next week. This in turn allows Sullivan to finally catch his longtime nemesis with a Master Ball, seeing the old man cry tears of gratitude the kids have allowed him to achieve a decades-old dream. As for Ash and May, they're just happy to have gotten their badge cases back, as thanks to Marill's Morningstar, the Great Fish was forced to cough them both up, meaning all is well, if perhaps a little slimy. However, it seems Sullivan is not the only one to benefit from this encounter, as with his trained breeder's eye, Brock informs Ash that he suspects Corfish is about to evolve considering the power it exhibited and the slight lengthening of its pincers. Eagerly, May asks if her Marill is also going to evolve soon, though this just earns her a flying kick to the back of the head from the Aquamouse, as it glares at her with eyes that clearly say, "Screw you, I'm perfect already." From here the gang continue on their way, and while May is eager to earn another badge, she is not likely to pass up a chance to explore all the culinary delights this portion of Hoenn have to offer, with a foodie guidebook informing her of an ice cream shop that has been in the same family for 9 generations, and which has some of the best ice cream in the region. Unwilling to allow such a treat to pass her by, May steers the group to the town where the shop is located, and after piling her cone high with 4 different flavors, heads out with her friends to a nearby park bench to enjoy their dessert. That is until something long and pink darts over a nearby bush to latch onto her bottommost scoop, before pulling it back into the shrubbery, while the rest of the ice cream goes splattering to the ground. Wanting to get a look at the culprit, May storms over, pulling apart the bushes until she comes face to face with a green and yellow Pokemon with a red stripe on its belly, which Max informs his sister is a Kecleon. However, May doesn't want to hear what this little thief is called, as pulling her fist back she furiously clonks it on the head, demanding it give her ice cream back, while Max winces that she just used Dynamic Punch, and it was super effective. Recovering from the surprise attack, Kecleon then becomes invisible, at least aside from the red belly stripe, and so telling her friends to follow it, May and the gang give chase all the way into a small alley where Kecleon hastily crawls through a water pipe leading onto the roof of an abandoned building, before leaping into a hole in the tile work and vanishing from view. Refusing to lose this little punk, May scales the brick wall at the back of the alley before following her target onto the roof and through the hole, while down in the alley proper, the boys all agree that May is scary when someone comes between her and her food. Landing with a thump inside what she presumes is an attic, May looks around for Kecleon, only to find the little lizard nestled in a den of sorts, lined with various foods from cheeses to various coloured Pokeblocks, and even a whole link of sausages, with the girl realising that Kecleon didn't take her ice cream to be a jerk, it just really loves food just like her. Calming down a bit, May asks if this is true, and at the mention of the word food, the reptilian Pokemon grins, confirming the suspicion. Having been impressed by Kecleon's speed, and recognizing a powerful normal type thanks to who her father is, May suggests that since they're kindred spirits, why not come with her? That way they can experience all kinds of yummy food together, with this offer being more than enough for Kecleon, as it shoots out its long tongue to stick to the girl's forehead, in which you can only assume is a gesture of endearment. Following this new capture, May and Co at last arrive in Fort Tree City, where thanks to being early, they're able to challenge Winona with no delays. This time Ash goes first again, mostly because with May getting to last time and even catching other Pokemon before him, he's itching for a battle. This goes more or less like in canon, except in that Pikachu is not defeated, but instead retires for a break when Winona brings forth her Swallow, since Ash wants to give his flyer a chance to battle its doppelganger. After Ash's victory, it is May's turn, and it is only now that she realizes she actually doesn't have a flying type on her team who can match Winona's Pokemon in aerial combat. Not only that, but thanks to its fighting typing, Combusken is a bad pick here, which would cause just as big an issue as the lack of a flyer, since whether she knows it or not, she's been using her starter pretty consistently to bail her out of tough spots. However, knowing she can't advance towards her goal unless she wins this badge, May chooses to follow Ash's example and fight a bit out of the box, making Kecleon her first pick. This choice is met by Pelipper from Winona, a divergence from her battle with Ash, which shows that she's willing and able to adapt to the opponent facing her rather than sticking to a set pattern. Taking the opening move, May's first priority is getting Kecleon into the air, so it can fight on even footing with Pelipper. Thankfully, due to having the two towers on either side of the battlefield which the trainers stand on, she has just what she needs to do so, having Kecleon extend its tongue and wrap around Winona's tower, before using the tongue's elasticity to slingshot itself into the air. While with most Pokemon this would be an easy enough trick to dodge as Kecleon no longer has full control of its motion while airborne, the same cannot be said for the little normal type, as by using its innate camouflage, it is able to become mostly invisible, and at the speed it's moving, Pelipper does not spot the red streak until it is right on top of it. Quite literally, as Kecleon lands atop the water-flying type's immense bill before deploying the next part of its strategy, Bind. Shooting its tongue out once again, this time the color swap Pokemon uses it to wrap around Pelipper's wings and torso, putting a stop to its flight and setting them both in for a crash landing. This is a daring play, as it all but assures that Kecleon will take damage too upon impact. Though having faith in her friend, May waits for the last second to have Kecleon jump off, briefly trailing behind Pelipper like a parasailer before making a much softer landing and taking far less damage, as the only injury it sustains is the bit of tongue still wrapped around the bird's underside when it crashes. Speaking of the binding, here its second effect activates, with that being continuous damage by being squeezed by the chameleon's tongue, a fact which troubles Winona, as for as long as Pelipper is bound, not only will it continue to take damage, but it will be confined to the ground, making it a sitting Psyduck. While it's not bad enough, May then as a normal type use Lick, with this unpleasant sensation being enough to paralyze Pelipper, giving the girl a decisive advantage, as even if Pelipper does manage to escape its bindings, it'll be slow enough that Kecleon can catch it again. Seeing that there really is no way out, not wanting her friend to suffer needlessly, Winona forfeits the opening match, praising May for such an effective combo, though having seen Kecleon's bag of tricks once, she is not going to fall for it again. In fact, she even has some knowledge of the color swap Pokemon that May does not, specifically how to exploit its ability, as when she calls forth Altaria and has it use Dragon Breath on Kecleon, this forcibly transforms into a Dragon type. While for most typings this would not be an issue, Dragon is rare in that it is weak to itself, meaning Winona has just created a new weakness which she is quick to capitalize on, blasting the reptilian Pokemon with another Dragon Breath and taking it out with decisive efficiency. Recognizing that she can't afford to get a big head, May next chooses Aron, a mixed bag of a choice, as on one hand, it quad resists flying type moves, but on the other, its only rock type move is Rollout, which is a close quarters attack. Thankfully, May has a plan for this, telling Aron to roll up the tower and use that to get some air. An audacious strategy as the tower in question is a flat and completely vertical structure, meaning Aron will need to roll straight up while fighting gravity itself. Nonetheless, being a devoted partner, Aron does its best, rolling right up to the tower and then crashing right into it. Such a sight is enough to make everyone wince. Though refusing to give up, Aron tries again, taking a longer run up in its rollout this time and even managing to make it partway up the structure before crashing back down to the ground. This repeats several more times, with Aron getting a little further each attempt, though ultimately ending up the same and taking damage for it, with Winona even going so far as to abstain from attacking, as at this rate, Aron is likely to knock itself out without Altaria needing to expend any energy. However, this self-assurance proves to be Winona's downfall, as on its 5th attempt, and the last one of its rollout cycle, Aron does something it could not before, and that is to begin glowing as its determination fuels an evolution into the middle stage Lairon. As a Lairon, not only is it more powerful, but its rollout now comes with steely bladed treads, allowing it to easily latch onto the tower and ride it all the way up, before striking Altaria with a max power rollout. This is more than enough to knock the Dragonflyer out of the air, and while it does get off another Dragon Breath as a parting gift, doing some damage to Lairon, one more rollout from above is enough to finish Altaria off, meaning it's all down to Swellow. Taking to the air, the shiny Swellow Pokemon attempts to wrap things up quickly with a Hyper Beam, but thanks to a hastily called Defense Curl, Lairon is able to tank this hit before striking back with a rollout, which now does double damage. Making use of its new ability to roll up walls, the now much larger Steel Rock type has no trouble reaching Swellow, and thanks to being in a state of recharge, striking it for a critical hit. This spells the beginning of the end for Winona, as while she is able to strike back, all of Swellow's other moves are of the Flying type, making them next to useless, meaning he is forced to rely on Hyper Beam, which in turn leaves Swellow vulnerable to the compounding power of rollout, so that all it takes is a second attempt at this strategy to see Swellow rendered unable to battle, and thus securing May her 5th Hoenn Gym badge. And that's where we'll leave things. Where will Ash, May and their friends head next in their journey? What new friends will they meet along the way? And can anything stop May's whirlwind gym run? Find out as the journey continues.